We are Gold Ivy, a health company dedicated to simplifying health and wellness. The industry is lacking the honest experience and grit required to overcome the struggle, and we're here to fill that gap. You decide what works for your daily life and how to transform our lessons into your gold. Join us on the fearless pursuit of self-discovery and growth. This is Ivy Unleashed, a Gold Ivy production. Welcome back! Woo! Welcome! This is Ivy Unleashed, episode number 4. We are so grateful that you guys are here with us. Today we are talking all about mindset and the power of thought. Oh, so powerful. I am so excited. This episode is going to absolutely blow your mind. We are so excited to have our very first guest on Ivy Unleashed. Yes! You are not going to want to miss this episode. Not at all. I cannot even express in words how excited I am. And for all that we're going to learn today, I mean, we are, Brooke and I, the presence of this being. We are giving you access to an incredible mind. Yes. And if you are listening with an open mind, you are going to leave transformed. Yes, absolutely. So mindset and how we talk to ourselves, to me, is the most underrated, least discussed, powerful topic. No one teaches you that. Nobody teaches you. No. And we talk about this a lot. And so we brought in a teacher. Mm-hmm. We need a teacher sometimes. But it's about, channeling those thoughts, how we can change our frame of mind. And a book that I read, and you're reading too, by Cara Hatch, is called Mindset. And I love this powerful quote in the book in reference to teaching children early to develop the growth mindset. And Cara Hatch says, if parents want to teach their children a gift, the best thing they can do is to teach their children to love challenges, be intrigued by mistakes, enjoy effort, seek new strategies, and keep on learning. And so mindset really got me thinking about how I talk to myself, and it's something I'm working on with my insanely gifted health coach, Cara. She truly lives out what she preaches. She's the least judgmental force in my life, and she helps me feel at peace and powerful every time that I get to talk to her. I feel like I could cry about it. I'm so grateful that I've met Cara and that she's a force in my life. I honestly channel her. She's gold. She's like a super human, powerful hero. Oh my gosh, I can't even. Well, I can't wait another minute. Let's get to this magical force. Yes. Born on the 4th of July, Cara is a firecracker committed to shining light on the divine gifts each of us were given. She has a master's degree in kinesiology and health promotion, is a national board certified health and wellness coach, and Evolved NLP Master Coach, who combines evidence-based behavior change, theories with human design, and her intuitive gift to deliver one-of-a-kind coaching experience to super sharp women who know they could make their goals a reality if they could just get 15 minutes to themselves. Oh, preach. Love that. Cara, welcome to Ivy Unleashed. It is an absolute pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm super excited. It's episode 4 because 4 is my lucky number. So thank you for supporting that.
That's cute. And Beyonce. Beyonce was born on the 4th. It's her lucky number. She's got a 4 on her hand. Hey.
See?
You, me, Beyonce. Right. You like 4? You were born on the 24th. Yeah, it was my golden birthday. Yesterday. Wow. This is a birthday episode. I love it. So Cara, how are you, first of all?
I am good. I actually am doing really well. I realized that 2020 is teaching me that I am capable of even more than I could imagine. And
I love that.
Just been an opportunity to learn to do things in a brand new way. So I am good.
Sounds like a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. Ooh, don't even get her started. All right. Well, let's jump in. We have so many questions. We want to pick your brain. We want to just hear from you. I'm going to do my best to just lock it up and be quiet because I just want to hear all of your words. So let's jump in. The first question we have for you is, when we think of you, we think of the power of
thought. You know, you're just like a thought leader and have changed the way that I talk to myself and the way that I think about my power over what I'm thinking. And so for you, you know, what does the mindset and the power of thought mean to you, and why is it so important that we talk about this?
Yeah, I'm really glad that you asked about it. I find it really interesting because for years I thought something was wrong with me. And what I thought was wrong with me is that I have the ability to look on the bright side or find the gifts in a challenging situation. It's just always kind of been who I am. And historically, people had told me, oh, you're not being realistic. You know, not everything is always good.
Mm-hmm.
And I even was talking to a therapist. I was like, am I in denial? Like, is something wrong with me? Like, what am I just pretending that things aren't there? And they're like, no, like it's a skill to choose the story that you're telling yourself. And then at work years ago, they had us do that Strengths Finder assessment.
Yeah.
And it turns out that positivity is a strength. And like, I knew
Absolutely.
but I didn't know it was like an official thing. I was like, oh, that's a measurable skill. And I've always been someone who has loved TV and loved reading and the power of story.
Mm-hmm.
And what I recognized is that we have the ability to choose the story that we are telling ourselves about our life and about external circumstances. And that's where mindset and the power of thought comes in, is that we don't have to believe things that we think.
So did that start when you got a therapist? Like, was that the first time that you were like, whoa, that's what I'm doing? Or how did that kind of start for you, that like, oh, you started piecing it together?
Yeah, it evolved over time. Recognizing as a skill, I think, has really evolved over the last 5 to 10 years. But when I look back in time, I was the elementary school kid watching Oprah. I was watching 2020 with Barbara Walters, you know, like always watching stories and hearing other thought leaders. Like I was drawn to that, reading personal development stuff when I was in 10th grade. Who does that? I don't know. It's just what I've been drawn to, and recognizing going through challenging times in the last 5 to 6 years have been the most transformational in my life. And I feel like I've been thriving through it by choosing the story I tell myself. But then if I'm too stuck in my own head, seeking out coaches, therapists, friends, being willing to melt down.
To be vulnerable.
Well, yeah, because you have to be. Because I think sometimes we can hide behind positivity and we can hide behind affirmations, and that actually works against us. Because if we don't believe an affirmation, we're reinforcing the negative thought. And not many people are talking about that. Yeah. Okay. If you do not believe the affirmation that you're telling yourself, you are actually reinforcing the negative belief that you're trying to overcome.
Oh, gold. I got to take some notes. Oh, wait, we're recording. We're going to be good.
Yes, I love that. It sounds like, you know, with realizing with Oprah in 2020 and all this kind of started when you really honed into self-awareness and getting a therapist and all these things. Can you kind of speak on that and what that, you know, first steps looked like of honing into that for, you know, someone who is struggling with negative and limiting self-belief, kind of where they can start? And, you know, we hear a lot about self-awareness, but how do we apply that and put that into practice?
Okay. Self-awareness came when I made the decision to stop blaming everybody around me.
Oh. How did you know that you were blaming people?
Because they wouldn't change.
Yes.
Like I was so concerned that I was surrounded by all of these people who had so many issues. And the story at the time that I was telling myself was like, if they would just listen to what I would tell them to do, life would be better. So then, okay, so you think about this, like if you have this drama circle and you are the center of the drama circle, You are the common denominator.
You are the issue.
Yeah. And if you can't change other people, well, guess what? It's time that you get to step up and change yourself. And with change, you can't have change until you have awareness. Because you don't even know what you're going to change. Right. Or you might be listening what other people tell you should change. You don't even know if you want to change that. So you've got to have that awareness. But we can't have awareness until we pause. We've got to pause and wait and listen and observe. And in that pause, what you become aware of, you become aware of your self-talk. You become aware of how you're talking about other people. And then you also become aware of the things that you're bringing into your life that are creating traffic. And then you've just got to be really honest of, am I going to keep those things in my life? And with all those things, you've also got a story about why it's important to keep it or why it's important to let it go.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I love that. And I think the way that you said that too shows that it is truly a process. And it has to start with carving that time to listen, to drown out the noise, to wait and find a time where there is silence, where you can actually hear yourself, or to even, maybe it's even before that, maybe it's even feeling worthy to create the time for yourself. You know, that awareness, it's so hard because how do you make someone be self-aware? How do you make yourself be self-aware when you're out of it? You know?
Right.
It's
you're like,
hard...
I'm not the bad guy. I don't want to change. But I think, look, what you're saying, when you start to realize that, okay, there's all these issues around me. Clearly, I only have control over my behavior, so something has to change. I know when we've coached in the past, when it comes to thoughts and kind of the power of your thoughts, one tip that you had given me was writing down all your thoughts for the day, all your negative feelings, everything you're feeling, the negativity, just to get it out. Is that something that you recommend, a place where people can start, just to start observing your thoughts?
Absolutely. And when we think about writing them down, the gremlin in our brain will often come up with reasons why we don't want to write it down. One is we don't have time. We're going to tell ourselves that. I'll give you a tip for that. We're going to worry if someone's going to read it. So don't worry. You can, just destroy it afterwards. And then third, we're scared of what we're going to see because it makes it real. So when I coach people around ways to just notice what thoughts are in there, it's set a timer. Set a timer for 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever it is. And the only goal is to write down what pops into your head. It's not like journaling where it's supposed to make sense. You don't have to worry about punctuation or spelling. You just write. It's as fast as you can until the timer goes off. You get that stream of consciousness going. Ooh. On all my coaching calls, the example I say is, if purple squirrels pops into your mind, purple squirrels.
I love that.
If you get stuck while you're writing and there's still time left, switch to your non-dominant hand and keep writing. You will pull different thoughts because you're accessing a different part of your brain.
What?
Yes.
Oh my left hand does not work.
Can I do that?
Do the left hand right. My left hand won't work, but that's such a good point of like, what's going to come in your mind when you switch to that hand that does
and
not
you're
know.
thinking of, and it's like subconscious thoughts. I know when I've done it in the past, it's so therapeutic just to get these crazy thoughts, even if I don't even know I'm having crazy thoughts, just to kind of do a brain dump. Yes. Is there science behind that of why I feel that way?
Well, absolutely. The way that I think about it is it's like closing down all the open tabs on your computer or your phone.
That's a good feeling.
And our brain wants us to take action. So just writing it down, even though we haven't maybe done a bigger physical action with that thought, because we have written it down, it closes off that thought loop, and then your brain is ready to let it go. And so it's like having too many running faucets. And so then it turns it off, and then you're able to conserve even more energy because you don't have those background.
You know, this is making me think, this is making me feel really vulnerable to even think of doing that. You know, I have a therapist and you as a health coach, and I'll say things sometimes like, okay, this is a really ugly thought, but this is something I know I need to work on. And I just say it really fast because I just want to get it out. And it does help to have it out there of like, this is something I need to work on because I realize that I'm the issue here and I only have control over myself. But the thought of being that vulnerable to write down all of those thoughts, because you just think, you know, times when you have those really analytical thoughts or judgmental thoughts or just limiting thoughts that, well, no one else knows what I'm thinking. So it's fine besides, you know, the good Lord above. But, you know, like to think of myself writing down all the things that I'm thinking and feeling, like I could just cry even thinking about it.
Well, because then you're reflecting and that's who you are. And you're like, no, these are my values.
I don't want to put these ugly thoughts on a piece of paper because then that means that's me for real. But yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm doing it.
I think you have to start small, right? Like, Cara, what do you recommend to someone who is terrified of being vulnerable and knows that they want to make a change, but that first step, even just writing out their thoughts for 5 minutes seems so scary and they don't want to do that? What do you know, what's kind of your thought on that?
Yeah. Tell the truth on paper. Open up the piece, get the piece of paper, start writing. I'm scared to write this. I don't want to put my thoughts on paper. If you start crying, you write down, I'm crying. Tears are falling on the paper. My cheeks are getting wet. I feel my breathing. Just write about the current experience. Because it's not about what goes on the paper. It's about showing up for yourself and building trust in yourself. And it's an exercise in getting to know you, in meeting you. So all that matters is that you put the pen or pencil to paper and then you just see what happens.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think I would even amaze myself of like we're talking about what you really write and then you read it and it allows kind of the inner dialogue to get out and you can see who you are, and if that doesn't align with who you want to be, you kind of know the steps that you need to take, or is bringing awareness that you need to make a change. Something has to give. Yeah.
Oh, I love
That's beautifully said.
So, Cara, I'm curious, you know, how you got started with this meditation. You know, how did you even get to the point where this is something that you do every day?
Yeah. So I wanted to have a meditation practice for a long time. And I thought it had to be complicated. And so I would be like, I'm going to meditate for 20 minutes or an hour. I'm going to take these classes. I actually did sign up and took like an 8-week class on how to meditate. And then I didn't do it afterwards for you. And so then I realized it's got to be simple. I'm a working mom of 2 kids and I'm just trying to figure out how do I make that work. And so I shrunk the goal down into 5 minutes. And lots of times now it's longer than 5 minutes, but what I did was I set the expectation up of 5 minutes counts. And because I can't argue with 5 minutes, I have 5 minutes. If I don't have 5 minutes, I need to restructure my whole life because something's really wrong. And then I also knew in behavior change, when you want to create a new behavior, the most effective way is to link it to an existing behavior. So for me, that's the morning. Wake up, go to the bathroom, 2 existing behaviors. And then I knew that if I could just attach meditation right to that end, like those little pop beads that you had when you were a kid to make a necklace, like you just want to pop the behaviors. And so in the corner of my bedroom, I set up a meditation cushion and little table. So I see it as a visual cue. And then when I wake up, it's wake up, bathroom, sit.
Okay.
And then I also track it on an app because I like numbers and I'm competitive. So I like to see the daily streak go up.
Oh, yep.
And then
you don't want to mess up that streak. You do not want to mess up that streak.
No, I don't at all. So I do that. And then I use either Insight Timer or the Muse headband, or sometimes I just sit. And it's just having that time to myself. And it's something that I have learned that if I show up for myself first thing in the morning, I have even more trust in myself to make decisions the rest of the day when other people are wanting me to meet their needs.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And when you say that, trusting yourself, and I tie that to confidence in yourself too, where that's something that we want to help people build, and building that trust within yourself is just such a great way of saying it, where you decide on something and then you follow through, and there's something about showing yourself that you can show up and that you can do what you said you're going to do. And like you said, even if it's 5 minutes, it does something. It is powerful. It makes you feel like you accomplished something. And when it's for you and it's at the start of your day, it just can waterfall into all of these other decisions that you've been wanting to make, but simplify them, knock them out of the park. And if you don't, at least you have a few things that you did, and then the next day is a new day. And I feel like you can continually build that confidence up and tell yourself, I can do this. I am capable of this. I am a powerful person, and I can start really small. This is doable.
Yeah. And like we always talk about, you're keeping the promises that you're making to yourself, knowing that you can keep these promises. You can trust yourself. Trust yourself first. You're building your confidence. And then, like you said, it waterfalls into every other avenue. You can show up for other people the way you want to show up because you showed up for yourself first. You filled your cup up first. And I think it's really hard for a lot of people to do that and to not feel that shame and guilt of filling their cup up first, especially you two both being moms. You have that mom guilt that I can't relate to, but I know a lot of women listening to this can. So can you kind of speak on can you kind of speak on that and something, how you follow through with that?
Well, because I used to think that I had to get up and take care of my kids first, like make them breakfast first and then come back and do something, or get them off to school back in the day when they would go to school, all of
days.
Rip. And then I'd come back and it's like, well, no, it's not going to happen. And so then what I realized was, okay, I need to break up with my snooze button, tell the truth to myself about what time I'm going to wake up, and then actually get up when the alarm goes off. And then that gave me extra time before my kids woke up. And I kept doing it. And when they would come in, I would pause and say, I'm meditating. I'll be with you in 5 minutes. And it took time. And now, especially on weekends, my daughter will come in and she'll just say, when you're done meditating, will you play with me, or will you make me breakfast? So they just know that it's what mom does in the morning. So it takes time, but when you let go of that guilt, you're not trying to manage other people's emotions.
Yeah, and I like to remind myself too, because I've done a similar thing with my morning and kind of owning that, is I know I will be a better mom if I do take this time for myself. I will be kinder to my kids. I'll have more compassion. I'll have more patience. And I see it, if I sleep in or oversleep for any reason over my alarm, and I wake up now back to my old ways of, waking up to a little face here by the bedside, which you're so cute, but no, I want to get up before you. And I've seen that I am a kinder mom, and I'm just I'm 5 steps ahead of everything, and able to see these reactions coming from my kids, and I can breathe through them more easily when I've had that workout or I've had that reflection time. It's really powerful.
Something I want to revisit. You had mentioned breaking up with the snooze button.
Cara,
this is something that I really struggle with. And by really struggle, I mean really struggle. So I'm not a mom. So, I value my mornings, and I know that it helps me. I know that if I own my morning, I own the day, right? I read all the things. I truly am invested in it, and I know that it's going to help me. But God, is it hard waking up?
I was
especially when you're just then going to
don't
meditate.
even ask. You need to tell her what you do in the morning. Give her a little snippet. You need to tell her the truth.
So my goal is to wake up at 5 a.m. and it's really hard. So if I fall back asleep, like I hit snooze for 10 minutes, I fall back asleep, I wake up way more out of it. I know that if I fall back asleep, it's just game over for my day. So what I've done to help with that is I set an alarm every minute so that even if I don't have the power to get out of bed, I'm not falling back asleep.
I forget. Are your eyes open during that again? They're closed?
They're closed.
She keeps her eyes closed, but she doesn't sleep.
So this is like not my small step. It's like my micro step of actually getting out of bed. So I would love to know, and I'm sure a lot of people would too. They probably aren't as crazy as me with setting an alarm every minute, but how did you take that first step with breaking up with the alarm? Or snooze, excuse me, because snooze and me just,
homegirl's gotta go. Oh boy.
Yeah.
It's a toxic relationship.
Totally. Okay. I'm passionate about this because waking up when my alarm goes off might be one of the goals I'm most proud of for actually doing, because I have like a gold medal in alarm tag is what I called it with the snooze button. And so what I learned is, first, it's important to have a really good reason why you want to be getting up. And it's not just this aspirational, I'm somebody that gets up at 5 a.m. Like, what specifically are you going to be doing in the morning when you get up? And then you want to think about, okay, well, once you have that reason of what you're going to do in the morning, thinking about, okay, what's the realistic time that I want to get up? Then we need to reverse engineer to bedtime, because your morning starts the night before.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to re-engineer of what time you're going to go to bed, telling yourself the truth about that. And just side note, the irony of this is I'm somebody who really does not like structure, does not like rules. I want freedom. I want to do what I want when I want to do it. So the fact that I'm talking about being this structured is hilarious to me. But then having that idea of bedtime and figuring out, okay, if I actually want to get X number of hours, what I want to go to bed. And then the practice, when you set your alarm, set it for the real time that you're going to get up. Because yes, when you hit the snooze button, if you fall back asleep and you re-enter that sleep cycle, it takes your brain 4 hours to get back to peak productivity. So is that 9 minutes of a snooze button worth 4 hours of decreased efficiency?
Ooh, that's a good question, Cara.
I'm going to go no.
Oh man. Should I hit the gold button? Because that was some gold right there.
And plug your phone in somewhere where you have to get out of bed to turn it on.
I have a physical alarm and my phone, and I use both.
Yeah, get them out of reach, fully out of reach where you have to get out of bed. And do you guys know the 5-second rule from Mel Robbins?
Yes.
Do it.
I know. I try.
Do you want to explain it again real quick, just in case anybody didn't hear the other episode?
Yeah, so she has this rule of you count down exactly what it sounds like from 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And on 1, you're a rocket ship. You are blasting off. You're giving yourself those 5 seconds to think about it.
Yeah, I was like,
when you hit
should
1,
I say this out loud? She's like, you can say it out loud. I'm like, I think Justin would be like, what is happening?
So maybe just think it in your head.
Yes, you can do that. But Brooke, can I ask you a question though?
Yes, please.
Can we do like a little mini laser coaching?
Absolutely. I'd be honored.
I can give you any strategy, but if we don't honor the positive intention that the snooze button is giving you, it's not going to matter what the strategies are, because every behavior that we do has a positive intention. So if you think about the gift of the snooze button in the highest regard, like what does hitting the snooze button give you in a positive way?
More time under my weighted blanket in my comfy bed.
Awesome. Okay, great. So, and I'm going to go rapid fire. When you have more time in your comfy bed under the weighted blanket, what does that give you?
Peace.
Peace?
Yeah. Peace.
Did you say peace? Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah,
I totally understand. So when you have peace, what does peace give you?
Like I can fully just be myself. I'm not worried about doing the next thing or acting a certain way. I can just be and being a go-getter and go. I'm trying to find this balance of doing and being.
a hard balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you can totally be yourself at the highest level, what does that give you? A sense of what?
Purpose.
Purpose. Yes. Great. And when you've got that sense of purpose, what does purpose give you?
A meaningful life, the reason why I'm here on earth and what I was put on this earth to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So if there were new and healthful ways to experience your purpose and the reason that you're here on earth, to fully feel that even more often, would it be okay to let go of that old thing you used to do in the morning?
Yeah, finding a different way and different time to do it.
There's got to be a different way.
It's so comfy under there.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That was powerful.
Yeah.
That is. Gets me thinking.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's good to know that, isn't it? That that's what your brain linked that old behavior to. And once you understand that that's what your brain wants, your brain, your subconscious mind, the prime directive is to take care of you. It understands your highest good. And so it's saying, like, Brooke wants more purpose. She wants that feeling of really doing what she's meant to be here to do. And so once you'd have more of those opportunities, it was just showing up as that old thing. It doesn't have to stay that. You can let go of that.
I have chills.
Wow. Yeah. That is crazy to link those things that way. You know, you think it's this innocent little tap, and it means so much more than that.
But that also just shows you the power of digging in and listening to your truth. And why am I feeling this way? Okay, let's take it a step back. Let's take it a step back. And knowing that you have all the answers all along of what you're searching for, if you just give yourself that time to be quiet and allow yourself to think what you're thinking.
Absolutely. And I think too, something, you know, if someone's just getting started in this, I think it's important to acknowledge the work that we've all done on ourselves and the measures that we've taken to get to the place where we are aware we are making these shifts, or we did decide to get a coach, or we did decide to get a therapist or whatever. And I think that sometimes it's overwhelming to think about getting started. And I think we need to talk too about what we've done, you know, how we've kind of gotten here. You know, we're all health coaches. So obviously, we talk about behavior change, and we talk about how we talk to ourselves, or how we're going to troubleshoot things or whatever. But I feel like, you know, in my life, I've read a ton of books about this. I've really taken time to realize the importance, or to learn about the importance, or to read about the science, or to read about the evidence. I know you've gone across the world to explore this. And I would love for you to talk about what kind of an experience that was. I believe you went to Bali.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to hear, you know, how that trip transformed you. Or I'm not telling people they should go to Bali, but I do think it's important with someone that has such great insight to see kind of how you got there, what a big trip like that did for you, and how it's kind of translated into your day-to-day, or, you know, your family life, or whatever it's done for you.
Yeah. Bali was amazing. I went there with 30 members of my soul family that I've been studying with for years. And I love to travel. And what I have learned the most about traveling, because so often we go to these places to experience new things, or, you know, learn life lessons and experience new cultures. That's all there. And it's important to know that you are still you going to the places. So like all of your stuff, your internal stuff, is going to travel with you. You can't escape that. And when I was in Bali, experiencing just a culture, the gratitude there is tangible. The people are so joy-filled, independent of material belongings. It's amazing to be in that presence. And they're so dedicated to their spiritual practices. I was grateful to have that. And it was also a time to push beyond my own comfort level. And so I can remember there was a point where there was a blessing, and then we walked out into like the sea, and it was cold and it was overcast, and I'm not very tall, and I didn't know how deep the water was going to be. And so I'm walking out there, and I kept just saying, one more step, one more step. And then at one point I turned around to see where the shore was, and I didn't realize how far I'd gone out. And the thought that came to me was, I went farther than I thought I could, and I'm okay.
Oh, I love that.
And there are so many times we stop when something's uncomfortable, or because we haven't been there before, or we're uncertain of what's going to happen. But if we just take a couple steps more, we're going to be okay. And that's where the lesson is.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, I think listening to you share that story really resonates with me in kind of my journey on my health and finding out what my body is trying to tell me. And when I'm in moments of I can't take this any longer, and I have this vision and this purpose of who I want to be, and my body isn't allowing me to get there, and taking it, like you're saying, one step at a time, and really going back in and saying, it's going to be okay. I don't know where I'm going to go. I don't know where this is going to take me. I don't know the end result and how I'm going to get there, but I can focus on the next step in front of me. So thank you for sharing that. That was really powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
so what did you do in Bali? Like, what did they have you do on like a daily basis? Or, did you have like a big, like multiple big moments? Was it one big moment? Was it, what was that like?
Yeah, well, there were multiple moments. Probably another one was because we traveled all over the island, and we were in different ceremonies with the spiritual leaders there, and learning about the culture and experiencing that process. We did some touristy things, and then really got to enjoy the high luxury of the resorts. But we were at one resort, and I was going to go for a walk, and I can't remember if, you know what? Actually, this is a brilliant example of me trying to control a situation. I wanted to go to have like a Thai yoga massage at the spa. And I was convinced, I was like, okay, we only had like 2 hours the next morning. And I was on the phone. I'm like, I'm going to manifest this appointment. I'm going to call, and there's going to be a 9 o'clock available. I'm going to be done in time. I've got this. And I just set up this prayer. I was like, I'm going to call and get this appointment as long as it's in alignment with divine will. I just kind of threw that up there. Called, nope, no appointments available. It's like there was only an 11 o'clock, which wouldn't work with the schedule. And I was like, fine, I guess I'm not this magical manifester that I thought I was. I was like, I'll just go for a walk instead. So I'm walking down the steps, and I ran into the holy man who was with our group and 2 of our friends. And he said, come with me. We're going to a water or come with us. We're going to a water blessing. And I was like, when I didn't want to like intrude on these other people and just kind of invite myself to a blessing. Like, that's like weird. But I was like, no, you know what? He asked, I'm going to go. So we go down to the holy pool, and you go from fountain to fountain, and just kind of like setting intention, and he's praying over you. And then at one point, I'm trying to walk from one fountain to another. I stub my toe because it's like gravel rocks on the bottom, like break my toe, fall into the holy man's arms. And I'm like kind of embarrassed because I'm trying to move. And he was like, no, it's okay. That means your family members miss you. So I guess there must be something in Balinese culture. And I was like, he's like, so like when you get home, go to lunch with your mom. And instantly I was like in tears. I was like, my mom is dead. Because my mom died in 2016. And he's like, it doesn't matter. Like you're still together. And it was just this divine moment where I was able to release this guilt and just grief, really, and let go of all of this self-judgment that was built up that I didn't even know about.
Yeah.
And I would have missed out if I had gotten that appointment at the spa, or if I had listened to the story that I was telling myself in my head that I was intruding on these people, like on their group. And it turns out the whole thing was totally random anyway. They all just ran into each other too. And then Ra, the holy man, was like, let's go do a blessing. So I I could have let the story in my head run the show, but instead I decided, nope, I'm going to do something a little bit uncomfortable. And it gave me one of the biggest gifts while I was in Bali, and I came home with a broken
so powerful.
But whatever. Yeah.
So sorry about the loss of your mom.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, but what a powerful way to kind of bring it back to, you know, what you were thinking that you weren't even aware of, and power over probably every day of your life since then with, you know, what that meant about what you were feeling and that guilt you were having. And that's super powerful.
Yeah. So it's to look back on that. Now I can remember it. Be like, oh, remember that time when you almost didn't do something? And like the invitations that you turned down or opportunities that you missed because of a story in your head. It's unacceptable.
Right. Yeah. So you as a coach, I know that one of your strengths is coaching people on thoughts. I know that because I work with you. You know, I see that in how you talk with me and how it has changed how I think. But with the majority of your clients, does it happen that way? Or do you kind of jump in and say, you know, what are you saying to yourself? Or do you keep it high level sometimes like, yep, let's focus on broccoli? You know, like, does it always go where it goes with me? I feel like you're so...
No, it doesn't. There's a spectrum because it's important to meet people where they are. And I'm going to show up and give as much effort as somebody seems available for, because I don't want to stomp all over them. There may be a little stomping. Sometimes I get excited. I don't know if that's the highest choice of words. No, but oftentimes what happens is instead of me fully going into, okay, what's the story that you're telling yourself, or going as deep into going like looking for positive intentions like I did with Brooke, I might hone in on one word that somebody is saying and then coach around upgrading that word. When we think of love languages, my number one is words of affirmation.
So there's a reason we're all together.
Yeah. I'm a words girl. So for example, if somebody is talking to me and they're often using the word need, need presupposes lack, like there's something missing. So instead of like, we'll coach around that word. Like, okay, you know, what is it that you truly desire? You know, or if desire is not right, but like, okay, what are you intending to create? What do you want even more of? Or
well, let's try this. Okay. So something that I'm working on for me is to stop analyzing and judging myself as a mom. So if I have a harsh reaction, or I'm, you know, not as present as I thought I should be at bedtime, or I said something that, you know, I just kick myself about. I just analyze the whole situation, how I could do it better. I'm like, I need to just go to bed so I can wake up and have a fresh start. And I want to stop that cycle of just analyzing and judging every interaction I have. And so I'm curious on your coaching with, like, it makes me emotional to even talk about it. Like how you as a parent, or if you're not a parent, your relationships with other people, over analyzing those interactions and how you beat yourself up about things you said or you thought or you could have done differently.
Yeah. So when we notice that pattern where we're overanalyzing or we're judging, what we want to think about is the opposite of emotion. So perhaps, for example, the opposite of judgment could be compassion. And then, so if we identify an emotion that we would like to feel instead, then what you can do to turn on the subconscious mind to work in your favor is ask yourself an empowered question. An empowered question is a question that presupposes a successful outcome. And there's a very specific sentence structure. So we want to use questions like how, what, or who. How questions will give you a process. What questions will give you content. Who questions will give you a person or a resource. So in this context, if I'm noticing that I am replaying a conversation that I had, or when crabby mommy shows up and I'm short with my kids, I'm going to ask myself, and I can ask it in my head, I could say it out loud, or I could write it down in my journal and then see what comes out and say, how can I be even more compassionate to myself right now? And I want you to pay attention to that sense and structure. The how is going to give me the process. Can I be, that's an ability, even more compassionate? Because I use the even more, it's presupposing that I'm already compassionate.
Mm.
And then the right now is telling my brain when to do it.
Okay.
So I might just put my hand on my heart and ask, how can I be even more compassionate with myself right now? I don't have to answer it right away. It's just asking the question turns on the RAS, the reticular activation system in our brain, which is the part of our brain that pays attention to things in the world. We're programming it what to pay attention to. And we're telling our brain, pay attention to even more ways I can be compassionate right now.
Ooh. So it's kind of like you're tricking or training your brain with this just like easy question and see what it comes up with.
Yeah. And I love crafting empowered questions with people, because it's the quality of your life depends on the quality of the questions that you're asking yourself.
Can you say that again?
The quality of your life depends on the questions you're asking. And that's from my mentor, Niarka.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to use that big time.
So someone who wants to start asking better questions,
Yeah.
where do they start?
Yeah. Good question. So that sentence structure, how, what, or who, purposefully, rarely asking why questions. Okay. Why questions will give you, and especially being mindful of when you use them with other people, because when you ask a why question, you're eliciting a philosophical or a defensive response where people feel like they have to justify what's happening. We don't want justifications. We want content from a why so we can understand them even better, or we want a process so that we can take more effective action. Or if we're asking a who question, we're looking to, who else can we connect to amplify our results? So just really paying attention first to how you're starting a question.
Thinking about mindset and really where to start, I think the question that comes to me is, being at peace and changing the narrative in our head when our body isn't aligned to how we want to feel. And I've been reading a lot and practicing a lot with meditation and really being an observer of my thoughts and having this disconnect between, okay, my body is not my mind, right? I can control my mind, even if I can't control my body. But then I also want to be in one and in harmony. So I guess my question would be, when it comes to feeling at peace with your body and your situation, even maybe it's not physical, just kind of the situation you're currently in, being at peace, that being versus doing I was kind of talking about. Where do you recommend starting when there's so much noise in there? And meditating is difficult for a lot of people just to start. So for someone who, is really, really struggling, what do you recommend that first small step is?
Tell the truth about the experience of the moment. If you sit down, you close your eyes, and your mind is racing, you just simply honor, my mind is racing. Or if you're feeling like you're out of alignment, I'm out of alignment. Because where our suffering comes in And I mean, we hear this from so many teachers in Buddhist teaching or Byron Katie. It's when we are arguing with reality because we have this expectation that it should be different, that is where we are creating our own pain. We could genuinely be in physical discomfort and we could just honor, like, okay, this part of my body hurts. You could say, I have tension, I have burning. Like, you can describe the pain without amplifying the pain by arguing with the fact that you think that you shouldn't be in pain. Like, pain sucks, but like, why add more pain because you think that you shouldn't be in pain? Like, it's, we create even more suffering as we're arguing with reality. And
like you said, it goes back to those expectations, you know, which has got to be hard. You know, she just turned 25 yesterday. You know, her expectation is that she's healthy.
yeah,
So that's a hard battle to be like, I should be healthy. I'm 25. I have my whole life ahead of me, but I wake up feeling miserable a lot of times. And so it's like that. How do you tell yourself that I shouldn't expect something like this? You know, it does align with everything in your brain. I think that,
this inner conflict that I have between I want to be true with how I'm feeling and exactly what you're saying, Cara. And at the same time, you know, I have affirmations of I am at peace, I'm healthy. And I know the power of affirmations. I've read, I've studied on it, but it's not true, right? Like, I can say I am healthy as much, but I don't feel healthy. So then is that me not being truthful to myself?
You can go neutral if you wanted to. So sometimes, so what we want to think about is like laddering thoughts. And when I'm describing like, oh, just accept the reality or accept the pain, like, I don't mean it in some like flippant way. I have such deep compassion for that. And I think there can be a lot of like toxic positivity of like, oh, just have the affirmations, but no, we can go neutral. So by going neutral is saying something like, my back aches and that's okay. Or we can go with like, my back aches and someday I might be okay with that.
Yeah. Something that's helped me too, kind of going off of what you're saying, is saying, you know, being honest with how I'm feeling. I'm in pain, but this is what I'm doing. I'm okay. I'm at.
Add an and instead of the but.
Mm.
So I'm in pain and this is what I'm doing.
Okay. What's the power behind that?
Because anything, when you use but, you negate anything that you have said before it. So in that case, actually, it might work because you might want to negate the fact that you're in pain, possibly.
Right.
We just want to be really mindful of when we use it.
or how it makes us feel. Because I feel like it could be empowering to say, you know, I'm in pain and I'm going to have a great day or whatever, you know, because but does feel a bit more negative than the and. I don't know.
What's this control thing too of, yes, I'm in pain, but I can control my next step to try and figure it out, or how I approach the day, or you know, all these little ands or buts. But like you're saying, being mindful and feeling how it makes you feel. Do I feel heavy? Do I feel light? Maybe I'm doing an affirmation of I'm healthy and I'm visualizing what that looks like for me, and then I can kind of go back and say, okay, does that involve me going to bed earlier so that I can wake up earlier? How am I feeling when I'm doing these things? And this is a feeling that I want to recreate, which is a lot easier said than done, but it takes work. And
it's a process, and then getting curious or playful with it. Like sometimes with journaling or talking, like, hey, like if your stomach is upset, like, hey, stomach, what do you want me to know today? Like, what gift do you have for me today? Or being playful, like, hey, stomach, like, what is it that you don't want to digest right now? Like in life, like what's making you feel sick?
Like, and please tell me what you're thinking.
Get into
a chicken falls out of the sky. Your bottle of wine crashes from the cup.
Like, stop drinking wine.
Another thing
Maybe I
thought
don't
of,
want to hear it.
just from this, so the power of thought. But what if people are like, I'm tired of even thinking, and so I know, like, you turn on your phone and you like think that it's mindless, and or you drink, or you, whatever you do to escape or not think because you're so tired. If I were Brooke, I would be so tired of my thoughts of thinking I'm in pain. This hurts. Oh, I would want to turn my brain off. I would want to turn off all sensory, Yeah. And I know that you've done a lot of work on yourself too. And like, how do you navigate that? Like wanting to escape or turn things off when you're exhausted of your thoughts?
Yeah. The challenge with trying to escape is that it doesn't work. Like you're just procrastinating pain and your stuff is just going to follow you. Yeah. And the reason why I say that is I broke up with alcohol like 4.5 years ago. And if you are avoiding things with alcohol and then you get rid of alcohol, well, great. Then you can avoid things with sugar. And then if avoiding things with sugar doesn't work, then you can avoid things with shopping. And if shopping doesn't work, then you can avoid things trying to get attention and validation from other people. And when that doesn't work, you can scroll your phone like all the time and be on social media. And when that doesn't work, you still have your thoughts and your feelings.
Oh, yeah.
We all have that stuff. But when it comes to an emotion, if we fully feel an emotion, the biochemical process can process between 90 seconds to 2 minutes in our body. The problem is we keep reactivating it with our
Keep
thoughts.
hitting the snooze on that one. Oh.
Yeah. And so we do that. So it's, unfortunately, we've got to feel the stuff. And there's a difference between like thoughts and feelings and emotions. Like thoughts, the things that like the stories that we're telling ourselves can create feelings inside of our body. And then emotion is what we do. Like it's the energy coming out of how we're expressing those feelings. And so we just need to be really mindful of if we don't have healthful ways to move that energy out, it's going to get stuck in the body. And we have external stressors or circumstances, which are actually pretty neutral. But the story we tell ourselves about them is what creates stress and dis-ease in our body. And so we've just got to be aware of it. And it doesn't mean if we have a physical illness, it's not that it's our fault, but it's our opportunity to get really curious about our body and advocate. And Brooke, I know you are a powerful advocate for your own health and well-being. And you have been navigating it for a long time. So I want to honor that. But you gotta feel it. And that's, it's an unfun answer.
Right. Well, and that goes back to being vulnerable. And it sucks feeling it and being vulnerable. But like you're saying, am I going to keep outrunning this and filling this void with alcohol, sugar, social media? And then 5 years later, I'm still dealing with it. And I'm like, wow, I just wasted the last 5 years when, it's the now or later. And you want to live your life fully now and have control. We're all searching and wishing we had control.
Yep.
Okay, well, it starts within and our thoughts.
I love too how you said that with the emotions coming from the feelings, coming from the thoughts. That is the power of thought. If it's something that we can start to pay attention to, we can start to ask ourselves different questions. We can start to just notice that thought that's coming in. And like Byron Katie said, like you mentioned, is that even true? Is this thought true? And how can you absolutely know that it's true? Are her first two questions. And I think that even that's powerful to be like, is this true? And not necessarily with your body. If you're feeling pain, you're feeling pain. I don't think there's a way to, say that's not true. But these analytical thoughts I have of myself or of how I should be as a parent or how I should handle things, like, I don't even know if that's true what I'm thinking I should have, could have, would have done, and how that would have affected the outcome. And then, I think it's just starting backtracking, just like with the snooze button, backtracking all the way to the night before. It's like the same thing with thoughts. Like if we get back to before the emotions are flying or don't let them fly, get to the feelings. And before that, get to the thoughts. Like the whole idea of just even noticing, that not all of those thoughts are true could change everything.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, the energy of just getting it out, that kind of ties totally back to what we first started talking about, journaling and just getting those thoughts out, and why it's so therapeutic, because it's that energy, that negative energy literally coming out of us.
Yeah.
Gosh,
And a lot of times in the beginning, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so much gold.
Mm-hmm.
This is incredible. And just kind of to wrap up all of this gold, I think everyone who's listening is like, oh my gosh, that was so much information. Cara, do you have any final thoughts or anything you're kind of feeling like, you would want to share with someone just starting this journey, or maybe they're in the middle of it, or something you feel like, the power of thought, anything that you feel like you want to share?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing would be in the beginning, recognizing that a lot of the awareness is going to come after the fact in the beginning. So much, oftentimes we put pressure on ourselves to be like, oh, I need to think all the right thoughts and then it will all work. A lot of it is going to come in reflection, like after we had a challenging interaction with somebody, of like, oh, wait, that just happened. What was I feeling right before it happened? And what was I thinking before that? And so we can do that self-reflection after the fact. And then once we practice that for a while, then we can become proactive.
Why does everything got to be hard? Why do you have to start with the hard conflict first? It's always got to be hard when you're bettering yourself. I feel like you always got to like trudge through the mud.
Well, since when did you learn from anything that was easy?
That's true.
Amen.
That is so true.
Well, and if you look at it as, after the fact, when you're so analytical, and then kind of twisting and becoming an observer and being like, no, this is the process. Okay, this is how it's supposed to be. I'm bettering myself. All right, let's think about it. So changing that to an observer. And directing it back to the IV of what we're talking about is growing through hard things. Yeah.
And I think it's powerful that you're sharing your story, we're sharing our stories, things that we struggle with and that we're being vulnerable with. And, hopefully other people feel like they can share their stories. We want to hear our listener stories too. We hope to have them on the podcast if there's something that they found work for them, even if it's 5 minutes a day of meditation, which is a commitment.
Or left with hope that they can break up with their snooze too. I mean,
yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, we just want to thank you so much. And, we end every show with our 3 gold stars. Before we get into that though, please remember that to all of our listeners that you can use all of Gold Ivy's resources, anything that you feel could benefit your life. Don't forget to subscribe to the Ivy Unleashed podcast. Find Gold Ivy Health Go on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter. Get exclusive tips when you join the Ivy League for our weekly blog and
Ivy
newsletter.
League! Ooh!
And check out our website at goldivyhealthco.com, and you can find footage of this episode on YouTube.
You guys got to see how beautiful Cara looks. Oh, she's an angel. Like,
she's shining.
She's an angel without seeing her, but the vision comes to life when you get to see this
You
video.
hear her and you're like, she's a light, and then you see her and you're like, oh.
Yes. All right. Well, now it's time for the 3 gold stars.
Cara, if there are 3 things that would be most impactful for our listeners to walk away with today, what would they be?
Absolutely. Start small. Start your day getting to know yourself. So when you wake up in the morning, take 1 minute, rest your hand on your heart or rest your hand on your belly, and just notice your heart beating, or notice your belly rising and falling with your breath. Sit quietly for 1 minute and just connect with yourself before you connect with the world. So that would be the beginning practice. Number 2 would be know that you do not have to believe everything you think if you don't want to. You can consciously create your own thoughts and beliefs, and it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. And then 3, experiment with putting your thoughts on paper. Try doing thought downloads. Set a timer for 5 minutes and just see just see what's there. And then once you have that awareness, you can decide what to keep and what to let go. It's kind of like KonMari method for your brain. You know, what actually brings you joy, and let go of the rest.
I love that.
All right. Well, another thing that we do with all of our guests when we wrap up is a segment we called Unleashing Ivy. So 3 rapid fire questions. Ooh, I can't wait to hear your answers. All right. You ready?
Yes.
What's your favorite way to center yourself?
Going for a walk in the sunshine. Absolutely.
Doesn't that sound so good
And
right
the
now in Minnesota?
All right. 2, when you're struggling with negative self-talk, what's one thing that steers you in a positive direction?
Writing it down and being brutally honest with what I'm telling myself.
Okay.
Number 3, what's one thing you wish you would have known sooner about the power of thought?
Oh, that I wish that I had known sooner. That my word choice matters.
To yourself?
To myself, yes. And then also if somebody's saying something negative about you, you don't have to believe that. You don't have to take that on. You can challenge that.
That's so
And
hard.
yeah. Well, and in my past, I've been in relationships where there are a lot of unkind words, and my stress or trauma response was freeze, and I didn't stand up for myself, and then I didn't stand up for myself in the moment, and then I was telling myself negative stories about the fact that I didn't stand up for myself. So it was actually creating like a double whammy. So I wish I had known sooner that other people's thoughts about me are none of my business. What matters is that's the real thing.
We'll have you back on for a whole episode on that.
No kidding. Oh,
yeah.
I love that.
My business. None of their business. Yeah. None of my business either, but yeah.
Yeah.
No one's business.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the last thing we love to do on every episode is leave our listeners with a piece of gold. So this is a quote that speaks to your heart. So would you like to do the honors and leave our listeners with a quote, a piece of gold?
Yes. And because it's important for me to get the words correct.
Yes.
So this is from my mentor, Nierka, and she is a powerful thought leader. She was Tony Robbins' top trainer for 5 years.
Oh.
And she taught me that the quality of your communication shapes the quality of your life. Every cell in your being aligns with what you declare.
Wow. We're going to share that quote everywhere. And we want to share you, obviously, through the podcast. We want to share all of your goodness. But if people would like to find more of you, to hear more of your magic, where could they find you?
Absolutely. You can email me at, it's the number 4, and Cara, Cara, Hatch, Hatch, @gmail.com. Or you can find me on Instagram. It's at Cara_Hatch.
Oh, it has been such a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to see you, to talk with you. I just want to thank you so much for taking this time. You are a working mom. You have a lot going on. It's a holiday week, but it has been wonderful to ask you so many questions and get your insight. You're just
Thank you.
a magical, magical woman.
Oh my gosh. I think you both are brilliant. Thank you so much.
You have been such a light.
Hey.
Yes. All right. Well, this is Gold Ivy signing off.
Right?
Your
Bye.
truth.
Thank you.
And go chase your gold.